Hey guys, Wayback Rewind here. Today I want to show you my Panasonic video camera PK801 and my RCA Portable VCR VFP 170. I'm going to wind it back to 1981. This is what I was shooting video on back during this time frame. And this is what it was known as
the time before camcorders.
Coming up next, here on Wayback Rewind. We brought you a lot of firsts here at Wayback Rewind, including the world's first camcorder, the Sony Beta movie, followed by the first ever 8mm camcorder, the Kodak Kodavision, and the world's first compact VHS camcorder, the JVC GRC-1U. But before any of those, we're going to rewind it to 1981.
Panasonic color video camera, model number PK801. Serial number G1WA10298. Date of manufacture, July 1981.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my original camera. This is not one I just recently bought on eBay. This is the camera that I've had since 1981. This is the Panasonic PK801. I have to admit, I've been a Panasonic fanboy for a long time. My first video camera was a Panasonic. This has a 6:1 zoom lens on it. And the most interesting thing is it's just a camera. The output is this cable. I want to call this a proprietary cable, but it actually was not. The manufacturers had agreed on a standard for video cameras, and all portable VCRs would accept cameras with this connector on it. This is a Panasonic. My VCR was an RCA. This will mate up to RCAs and Panasonics and other brands in the VHS line. This camera has a Nuvicon tube in it. A Nuvicon tube is a slight improvement over the Satacon tubes of the original days. I had this little Nuvicon sticker on here to remind myself that this is a Nuvicon camera. The Nuvicons were slightly more resistant to burning. This has number 3 on it. So you would say, how is this my first camera? My brother had 2 video cameras, which he numbered 1 and 2. So I had the 3rd camera. But this was my first. It does have an electronic viewfinder. It has a small CRT in there, black and white, of course. The CRT plugs in over here. The microphone is on what looks like an antenna. Little extension boom here. The foam, of course, has long since disintegrated. There is an exterior mic jack on here. The only control you have over the VCR, as I mentioned earlier, this plugs into the portable VCR. There was a connector here that you could plug into the VCR to give you full control over it. I never actually had one of these. Not sure exactly how it works. I need to look for one, see if I can get it to work. This would allow full control over the VCR. In the absence of that, the only control you had over the VCR was to either put it in operate and standby, which would really shut the power down to a low level. And the only other control you had over the VCR normally was the start-stop function. The start-stop function here would start the VCR, stop the VCR. But other than that, you had no ability to, stop or play back without that VCR remote, which I never even saw what it looks like. The one thing missing from here is the zoom levers on the side of the lens. They hadn't thought of that yet, apparently. The zoom controls are up here in a very strange place on the top of the viewfinder, with a fast and slow speed zoom. Not sure why they put them there. That's a very odd place for them to be today. At least it did have a power zoom. The one thing missing is an autofocus. This one has a manual focus, even though it does have a power zoom. You have an automatic manual iris here, and you have an indoor-outdoor filter. Indoor-outdoor filter was a big thing back in the day. I don't know why it was such a big thing. I added this little rainbow and this little VHS sticker here, and the number 3. Other than that, those were the features. This bottom piece, the shoulder bracket, comes off, but the nice thing about the shoulder bracket is it has a connector that plugs into the camera that allows this start-stop button to work here. So you could rest this on your shoulder. You had a start-stop button here, and then this long cable, I say long, but however long it is, cable would go to the VCR, and that is how you would record. So I know what you're thinking. Where is the VCR?
RCA video recorder, tuner timer 1264H0020, recorder 1266H0354.
Well, my RCA VCR stopped working decades ago. I just dug this camera out of the attic. I don't know if it still works or not. And I just purchased a replacement VCR off eBay. Many of them are untested. Some of them claim to work. This one claimed to work. We're going to find out. Old school peanuts. Let's see if we can liberate this without making too much of a mess. It's like seeing an old friend for the first time in a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen the VFP 170. At one time I had a separate charger for this, in addition to a tuner timer. I have neither this time. I'm not sure how I'm going to power this up. This VCR, when it's by itself like this, it has no power supply. This is what the battery looks like. This is an aftermarket battery that I bought back in the day. Looks like I shaved off the corner to get it to fit. Not sure why exactly. This is the original battery type. Actually, I believe this went to a full-sized camcorder at one time. But these batteries were used in early camcorders and early VCRs, if I recall correctly. There's a battery compartment on here. I'm doing this from muscle memory. It's been decades since I've done this. You can put the battery in like this. And I believe it automatically engages on these connectors right here. There's nothing else you have to do. There's a coaxial connector here that you can plug in a 12-volt power supply. If I had such a power supply. I know that battery is completely dead, but I'm just putting it in there just for the heck of it. It has a manual eject, if I recall. All of these are electronic, so it's not going to do anything without power. There was a wired remote that plugged in here. I don't have the wired remote. I don't think I kept it. There's a manual tracking under here. Speed selector. 3 speeds. The thing that made VHS popular back in the day is you could buy a 2-hour tape in SP. It would run for 4 hours in LP, and it would run for 6 hours in SLP. A mechanical counter doesn't appear to be working, because this would reset to all zeros, and it's not doing that. Battery meter, just showing red, of course. Some deep gouges here on the front. Any thoughts and ideas on how to power this? So in the box I found the camera in the attic, I found this little pigtail with a coaxial plug, and I would bet you any amount of money that coaxial plug will mate with this DC 12-volt plug here. And it does. So I can build a harness to put this into, say, a cigarette lighter adapter, which will mate up with one of my battery packs, and I should be able to power this up. While I have this turned around, you can see the camera adapter that I was talking about that's standard on all of these portable VCRs. So I completed building my 12 volt power cord, which will plug into this machine. I'm going to plug it into my 12 volt power supply back here. Then I'm going to test it, make sure that I'm getting power, negative on the inside. I'm getting 13.3 volts. And we're going to plug it in and see what happens. It's plugged in. There's no smoke. That's a good sign. Let's push the button and see what happens. Okay. Looks like it tried to light up. And it lit up. That's a great sign. Okay. I'm going to slide this over a skosh. I'm going to bring my TV into the view. I'm going to plug this. It expects to see a video cable. I'm going to plug that into the back. Turn the TV on. Getting no signal. Not sure why. I'm not sure what's going on with the no signal. At the moment of truth. Let's see if it'll load a tape. Old school manual load. I'm going to press play. I hear nothing. That's not a good sign. Nothing happened. Nothing's working. Could be the power supply. Could be something else. Not sure. It's definitely getting power. We have a light. But it doesn't sound like it's trying to do anything. The light isn't actually blinking. That's a camera effect. Well, here at Wayback Rewind, we prefer working VCRs, so I tried again. This is my second attempt to own a VFP 170. So we're going to unbox it here and see what happens. This is like 1981 again, opening up this box for the first time, seeing everything exactly as it was from the factory. So we've got here the tuner timer, the VCR. Let's start with the tuner timer, since we haven't seen the tuner timer. Here we have the tuner timer. All of these buttons could be manually tuned. 2 through 13, but it came with a bunch of numbers, which may be still in the accessory box. You could put whatever numbers you needed to have in there. The tuner timer has the plug on it that connects to the back of the VCR and powers it. And then there's a separate wire for the video. These two connect to the VCR, and that's the only connection the VCR has on it from the factory. There's no power cable. So all of the advertisements that say missing power cable, that's because there is no power cable. You have the old school antenna jacks. No one uses anymore, then a regular in and out to TV. Six hours on a cassette is what made VHS the more popular brand. been over 40 years since I've seen what was in this box, so let's see what's in this box. That looks familiar. I remember where I got that pigtail from. The battery that came with this unit had a pigtail on it that plugged into the back of the unit. It didn't actually use those clips. That explains a lot. It's coming back to me slowly. We have the wired remote. It did have slow motion, frame advance. This was a very sophisticated remote for 1981, but did come on a long wire. And a user manual. You could receive a lot of different channels, but you had to put those numbers in there manually. For an Episcopal church in LA, that's kind of weird. Simplified instruction cards. There's no DVD in here, obviously. What else do we have? The slightly more complex. Another hymn book. There's like 20 pages on how to hook it up. Okay, now the moment of truth. I bought this unit untested. I normally don't buy untested units, but I bought this untested because it came with the tuner timer and it came in the factory packaging 100% complete. I was able to recreate the original purchase experience, which was worth something to me. That being said, let's power it up and see what happens. All right, let's have a go at it. Here goes nothing. It did light up. Let's see what happens. It did load. It shut off. It's trying to rewind. It's trying to fast forward. But we got some kind of issue. It's trying to play. It actually is trying to play. It was very distorted for a few seconds, but I actually did get a signal coming out of there. It looks like the take-up reel is not moving. Probably a bad belt. Could maybe fix that.
Well, maybe the third time is the charm, because here at Wayback Rewind, we prefer working VCRs and cameras. So I'm going to try again for the third time. Going to buy a VFP 170, and we're going to see if it's going to work here live.
Okay, we're going to try powering this up for the first time ever. We got a light. Rewind seems to be working. It's a good sign. Fast forward, not so much. Let's try play. And I don't see the take-up reel is not moving. We have the same failure mode on number 3 that we had on number 2. In fact, it's even worse because fast forward isn't working. Looks like a belt kit. It's the only way that this is going to be fixed. Looking at the capstan, I can see what's left of a belt. I think all of these, the capstan belt has turned to dust. And that's what drives the take-up reel. So That needs to be repaired before this will work.
And there you have it. The Panasonic VFP 170, the original VCR that I bought in 1981. I bought 3 more here in 2024, trying to relive the glory of
A time before camcorders.
and unfortunately, none of them worked. I'll try to repair this in part 2, but if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.